Sparking Change with Gigi, a show that aims to make the world a better place by bringing together authentic minds. This show encourages each of us to be the change we wish to see in the world. Get ready to be inspired and join us on this journey to create a brighter future for all.
Hello everyone and welcome to Sparking Change with Gigi. Today we're going to be talking about how to take control of your health and reclaim your energy and your vitality. And my guest today is Julia Diaz. Welcome.
Thank you.
We are no strangers. We both did Soul of a Diamond in the book Soul of a Diamond. So I'm so grateful for you to come back on and share your wisdom on, your knowledge about navigating life with an autoimmune resilience, right? Because you've been through it and your story is amazing. So I want the world to hear about it. So welcome, Julie. Tell us more.
Thank you, Giovanna. Thank you so much for having me. That was quite the nice surprise to hear from you. We were in New York City in Times Square together. We had our exciting moment when we had our books up on the Jumbotron. That was amazing in Times Square. And
beautiful memories.
Yes, I love meeting you. You're such a warm and intelligent woman, and I know that you have been through your own health struggles yourself. So you've been there, and you know what it's like, and it's not easy. And
no, it's not.
It's not. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, people like you really bring the light to someone who's going through struggles, and I want the world to know, like, how they can help themselves, what tools they have. I'm on a mission, right? After I went through my journey, I know that there's so much out there that we don't know. So this show is about educating people on, if they're going through something, know that there's something out there for them, to have faith. So thank you for coming on. I appreciate it.
It's my pleasure. And you're right. There's an endless abundance of information. There's an endless abundance of herbs alone. That's one of my passions. I love herbology. And some things as simple as peppermint have so many benefits, like people don't have any idea. Like people could take it for gallstones, for example. You could take peppermint gels in a pill other than just having the tea. There's so many things to learn. So in my book, what I really want to get across to people is that you can get better. And, it's not overnight. Some people want that quick fix and say, give me a pill and make me better. But, if you look at the industry and the way it is now, what if they cured? They want to get people on medication that they stay on. So there's never going to be any pill that you're going to take and you're just going to be cured. It's not that simple.
Tell us about yourself, because you went down a journey similar to mine, and what you hear, because you went through your journey and we want to hear about it.
Yeah, so I think it started, I went undiagnosed for many years, first of all, which I found out is very common with thyroid disease and autoimmune illness. But it started when I was around 30, the birth of my first son, and I developed eczema on my hands. And it was just on my ring finger at first. I used to joke I was allergic to being married, but it was really terrible. It was itchy, and it's horrible to have eczema. It's under the skin. It's in the nerves, and it's very irritating. And I went to several doctors. Dr. No Help. That's one of the stories in my book. I have some stories of doctors. And Dr. No Help, he just gave me this steroid cream, and he didn't warn me that it could make my fingers crack open, and I was only supposed to use it for 2 to 3 weeks. So months later, my fingers are cracking, and they're more irritated than ever. I had little children, and trying to wash dishes, do things in the kitchen, and it's very difficult when your hands are stinging. So finally, I had given up dairy. I got my mercury fillings out. I was doing all these things on my own. I was taking different kinds of oils, primrose oil, borage oil. I tried different things. I was taking chlorophyll juice, which is very, very green. So I joke in my book that I had a nice green smile because I would take a teaspoon or a tablespoon of that. It's so green. But anything, I would do anything to heal. What I was doing was healing my gut. And that's at the root cause of autoimmune disease and eczema and, a lot of other things. So eventually I went back to Dr. No Help and I said, hey, you know what? I gave up dairy and it's getting better. And he's like, oh yeah, yeah. You know, if you give up dairy, it's going to make it better. Like, really, Dr. No Help? Because you didn't tell me that 3 years ago. It's like,
Amazing.
all of a sudden he's illuminated with that. So one thing I found is that I went from one doctor to another, and I knew that I had a thyroid problem. And I got to the point where I was frustrated that I wasn't getting help. They would just offer me Prozac or birth control pills, which I also found out is common. I've spoken to clients and other people and that's what they offer them to help them with symptoms. But it's not addressing the root cause. So in my book, I have a whole chapter on all the root causes. There's so many things that contribute to illness. But with autoimmune in particular, there's 3 things that have to be in place for you to develop autoimmunity, and that is an intestinal permeability or leaky gut, a genetic weakness, and toxicity. And as you know, we live in a very toxic world.
Yes, we do.
And we have to detox. You have to at this point. And you have to know where the toxins are coming from. So I have very detailed chapter about heavy metals and other pollutants and pesticides and GMOs and all these things that makes our bodies toxic. And I teach how to avoid them and how to get them out. So you have to get them out to heal, to get better.
And I know you mentioned that there are many other ways through some energy modalities that can also help. Can we talk about that a little bit?
Absolutely. That's really fascinating. And it's becoming more and more popular. There's a new technology called the EE system, eesystem.com, and that it's called the Energy Enhancement System. And what it does is using scalar energy, it helps to heal the body at a cellular level, help it to detoxify, and it actually balances the left and right brain hemispheres. And it really helps with your mood, with mental illnesses, with alertness and clarity. But people are healing from cancer. And for me personally, I healed from years of foot pain from a bone spur and plantar fasciitis after my first visit to an EE system. And I had a gallbladder attack and they wanted to take my gallbladder out. And I like to keep my parts. I kept my thyroid and I kept my gallbladder too. I went, instead of going to the ER, I was like, I had a night of hell. I went to the EE system instead. I called my friend Helena. Helena's like, she's 74 years old, years young, I should say, because she's so much younger than you would think. And she's the only person in my life that brings me like the latest, technology. Like she's teaching people, like she's amazing. So she's like, I want like, Helena, what should I do? She says, go to EE 3 days in a row. So I'm like, okay. So instead of going to ER with no fear, I go to the EE place, which I had been to before, 2 hours, 3 days in a row. And I had developed jaundice. I was like, oh my gosh, is my liver failing? I was in a little fear, but I was trying not to be in a state of fear because that doesn't help.
No, of course not.
I went there and I relaxed in one of those anti-gravity chairs.
Yes.
And my color went back to normal 3 days and I was able to eat whatever I wanted. I was amazed. That was an incredible healing. So I wanted to show you my medallion.
You want to laugh? Because I just did a show not too long ago with the owner of Quantum Healing, which she's right around the corner from me. Really? And we did the whole episode on the EE system. So anyone who's interested, go back. There's definitely more information. But I have mine too.
Look at that. You got the rose quartz.
Yes. And, again, with everything that's around us, toxicity, Wi-Fi, when we look at our phone, all of that interrupts what I call the energetic body.
Yes. And the frequency of your body.
Exactly.
It's interesting that we all have our own unique frequency, every single person. And I have a machine right here, believe it or not. It's called a Rife machine. And
I've heard of those too. Yeah.
I have this machine like right here. That's the big unit. And I have a smaller frequency generator down under the table that's connected to a computer. So I can look up in the program. There's 50,000 different programs in it.
Yes.
You can find virtually any problem that you can think of, and you can run it remotely or in contact mode. So you could put TENS pads on, or there's these metal rods you can hold. There's like a glass tube you can put next to you, and there's another like a thing, a handheld thing. But for remote use, all I need is a DNA sample from any person. It could be hair. I usually get fingernails because they last the longest, but it could be, and I don't want to deal with bodily fluids if I can just deal with the fingernail.
Right.
So I'm
Right.
the I'm the crazy lady asking people to give me your fingernail.
Yeah.
I've had friends that are like, I don't have any fingernails, and the experts actually for the machine say you don't even need a lot, that you could just use shavings. So it's incredible technology, and it's been around for 90 years.
Yes.
I had a friend that had cancer, Jilly Jill. I call her my Jilly Jill. She, rest in peace, Jilly Jill. She's in heaven right now. But I was helping her with cancer pain. It worked. She could feel it. She gave me this little itty bitty nail. She barely had any nails. And I ran it remotely from my house. And she said, Julie, the pain went away. It's gone. And I didn't know if it was going to work. So I was just like an incredible gratitude. I was so happy that I could help her, So there's so many things that we can do to feel better. And I experiment with all different kinds of things because I'm always willing to, learn about something new, try something new, anything to feel better,
Yes.
why
Yes.
not?
Absolutely. When we take control of our health, we're not even upset. We say, okay, well, I made that decision. We
Mhm.
own it. And, whatever the results are, we're okay with it. It's knowing that what we try to do, we would do for ourselves and do for anybody as long as, it helps them, right? Tell
Yeah.
us more. I mean, you have so
Okay.
much in your book that,
Yeah.
I love to go through some of the tips that you have in there for the viewers. Yes, tell us about your book.
I love my cover. My
I
best friend
love the colors
designed
too.
it. She's an amazing designer, and so I'm so grateful to her. Yeah, one of the points I make in my book is that when you start feeling better, like some people, like I did, have crippling fatigue, where you're so wrung out. It's like a wrung out dish rag. There's nothing left. And some other people on another show where they likened it to spoonfuls, like you only have so many spoonfuls of energy in a day, and then you're just done. My energy is so much higher now. And one of my points in my book is that when you start to feel a little bit better, don't start there. I mean, don't stop there,
Don't stop there,
because
right?
you can elevate yourself to another level and higher and higher and higher by getting through all these root causes, like hidden infections that people probably never heard of, like Yersinia, or, there's different gut infections, there's parasite infections. People don't like to talk about that. It's kind of a scary thing with parasites, but I would rather not host them. I'm not going to be their host. I want them out.
Right.
I kick them
Right.
out. Yeah.
That's right. No, absolutely. And people, you're right, they don't know about this. They go to the doctor and they really expect the doctor to give them all the answers, right?
Yeah. Well,
So
yeah,
a
with
lot of information.
parasites, they're not testing people in this country. They act like it's a third world problem. And I have family in Peru, and they test them routinely. It's a normal thing. So why aren't they doing it here? Because I had tested positive for one, and it was a microscopic parasite that is linked to Hashimoto's, which people need to know this. It's called Blastocystis hominis, and it clings to the insides of the intestines. So I went to my doctor, and after I had treated myself, and I said, "Can you retest me for this? I wanted to see if I had gotten rid of it." And I did. So he said, "Oh, how did you do it? That's a tough one to get rid of." And I was like, "Look at my doctor. He's asking me how I got rid of it." So nobody knows everything, just goes to show. But I used two different herbal formulas. Herbs are great. I used the very well known black walnut, sweet wormwood, and clove blend. Those three herbs are commonly together for parasites. It works. And mimosa pudica seed, which I learned by attending a whole summit about parasites from Dr. Jockers. He's amazing.
Mm,
And I put those two together. I took them for 2 or 3 months, and that got rid of it. I thought maybe I should go a little longer. That's why I went to, like, I think 3 months, just to make sure. And it actually did work. So that
wow.
was. Nice. Nice to hear it was gone.
I did hear that between parasites and fungus, like
Okay. Hmm.
fungi is what we really carry in our system.
Yeah.
And again, it's not something that we can control, right? We're not even aware that we have it. We start feeling the symptoms of it.
Yes. Yeah, with candida, I started experiencing that in my 20s. I started having bloating in my abdomen and, maybe having like some itchy scalp and itchy skin. But yeah, you can help candida by avoiding sugar. It's not that easy, but you do have to change your diet. And there's some great antifungal herbs that you can take too, like Paul Darko and the probiotics, of course. There's a whole bunch of stuff. I have a little section in my book about that candida
Okay.
as well, and there's medications as well.
Give us some examples of, like, you started with peppermint, how that's really good for us.
Oh,
Some herbs that,
that's a great one.
yeah.
I love peppermint. I just had it yesterday because I was so nervous during my book launch. My stomach was like, ugh. So I had peppermint tea and chamomile tea before bed, and it really helped to relax me and help me to sleep because I was wired and I couldn't go to sleep. I was still talking to the virtual assistant till like 1:30 in the morning,
Oh my
seeing
goodness.
the stats in my book. But chamomile tea, believe it or not, was shown in a study to reduce your chances of thyroid cancer. That is
Really?
a great fact that studies in my book. I loved learning that. I was like, oh my God, people that drank chamomile tea, this was a study in Greece, for like 2 or 3 times a week had like 60 or 70% less thyroid
Can
cancer.
I tell you that I was born in Italy? I don't know if I told you that,
Yes, we did.
but I was born in Italy, and that was the only tea we drank.
Really?
The only tea we drank either was espresso, so it was like real killing coffee, or very smooth, you know,
Then you have to calm
chamomile
down
tea.
with the chamomile. Oh my gosh,
Always. And
that's
I still have it
great.
in my cabinet to this day. It's just,
Wow.
yeah, a ritual that I keep, because if your stomach hurts, my mom used to go, have some chamomile tea.
Yes.
You had a
I
headache,
need
have some
some.
chamomile tea. So that
Yeah.
was our medicine when I was growing up, for sure. Wow.
It also has something in it called apigenins, which is a compound that prevents cancer and all kinds of different illnesses. And it's also found in other fruits and vegetables, which I list in my book when I talk about chamomile. I put several pages together just on that because I went on the deep dive. I tend to do that. And I just find it so fascinating.
Yeah.
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 So
What
with the,
else?
okay. So what was I going to tell you? I was thinking something related to that. Uh, uh, oh yeah, the bee pollen. My new thing is putting bee pollen granules. I love bee products. The bees give us the best medicine ever, right? Between
There's like so many
honey.
vitamins in bee pollen. Oh my
Yeah,
goodness.
I have I think it's right here. I have a product called Propolis. And this
Mm.
Propolis is this is great medicine. This is the like the resin that from the feet of the bees as they're like repairing the hive. That's what the propolis comes from. And this is also anti-cancer. It's antiviral for people that have like herpes or viral infections can take propolis. It's allergies. I was having allergies this spring and my eyes were watering every day. I started taking this and it completely went away. I was amazed. So I swear by this propolis now for allergies. And I give it to my son as well because he has allergies. But the bee
Wow.
pollen, that's another. I read the bee pollen's good for hot flashes, which, now that they conquer Hashimoto's, it's another problem. I have the menopausal hot flashes, right?
Yeah.
So they're just like really, really, really hot. So I'm trying anything I can. So
Hmm.
I'll put like the scooper of the bee pollen granules in the chamomile tea, and it actually tastes fine together that way. It doesn't go with everything.
I actually chew them.
You
I take
do?
I do. I take a
Ah,
spoonful and I chew it.
okay. Does it taste good?
It's fine.
I'll
It's
have to try
fine.
that.
But
Okay.
it's definitely not like the vitamins that we take, but it has a different taste, but it's fine. Or you could put it in your salads. and
Oh,
sprinkle it on your food. Yes,
yeah. I'm gonna try it that way. I didn't think of just eating it straight. I just threw it in my
you
tea.
can. Or you can just literally put it on your mouth and take a glass of water and drink it. I do both.
Okay. Yeah, it's full of B vitamins and it's
Oh,
just
tons of
so
vitamins.
good for you. Another thing is like with the propolis, they make a throat spray with that for if you have a sore throat. So there's so many applications for your health with bee products. Gotta love the bees.
Absolutely. And I do believe there's so much out there that it's so much more natural, that we can take,
Yeah,
that, doesn't come with so many side effects, and that,
exactly.
the Western medication, there's stuff that can help us, but there's also stuff that, not even doctors can be able to learn all the side effects of every
No,
medication that they make, right?
no one can keep
So,
track of it all. And
no,
some
not at all.
some things, some of these commercials are just really frightening and side effects, and most people don't have them, right? But some of the side effects, especially with these new weight loss medications, are very concerning to me. I have several friends taking them, and it's concerning because the side effect, the main one, is gastroparesis, which means paralysis of your gastrointestinal system.
Oh
So
my
that's why
gosh.
they're not hungry, because everything stops and they have trouble going to the bathroom and they don't want to eat. And that's not good because the toxins can then build up if you're not getting them out, and there's other doctors warning about lung problems and different things down the road. So I would be very cautious with that. I'd much rather exercise and
Eat
try to
healthy,
eat
right?
healthier. I learned a new word. Okay, I've heard of obsesions. I heard there's a new word, diabesogens, which are things that cause diabetes. And believe it or not, eating sugar is not even in the top three. The top three things that lead to diabetes are PCBs, um,
What's that?
arsenic, PCBs from the toxins from the fish, the contaminants in the water that are in fish. I don't,
Okay.
and arsenic exposure, which comes from chicken and rice and apple juice, and could be in the water, and phthalates. Phthalates are number two. So PCB is one, phthalates is two, and arsenic was three. And there's a compound in turmeric that can actually remove arsenic from your body.
What's the second one you mentioned? Phthalate?
Phthalates. So phthalates, PH, like LATATES. It's kind of hard to print. It does, you're not pronouncing it like exactly how it looks, but like
Yeah.
phthalates, whatever. But it's in a lot of our personal care products. So it's good to use natural care products on your skin. And actually, I make my own body butter and essential oils, ointments, and all kinds of stuff like that, all natural. Because what you put on your skin, over 60% of the chemicals in those products absorb into your bloodstream,
Sure.
and 100% on your mucous membranes. So if it's through your mouth or, it would, 100% of it would enter the bloodstream. So yeah, I was pretty shocked when I first heard that number. That's a pretty high number. People don't think things go like into their blood when they put it on their skin. Why would you think that? But
Well,
it's true.
I mean, we know that the skin is the largest organ we have, right?
This
So
is
people
true.
know that,
That's
but they
true.
can't equate to, oh, does that mean it absorbs things, right? They think organ is just the internal parts.
Yeah.
But
And when you want to stay beautiful as a woman, any anti-aging cream, you're like, oh, let me try that. You know, he said you don't want to have wrinkles. So
I have my
it's tough.
esthetician license. So trust me,
Yeah.
I studied a lot of different products that, again, claim to take away the wrinkles. But at the
Mhm.
end of the day, if you're putting on all this makeup and it does the opposite. So it's like you're doing what you're trying
Yeah.
to stay young, but at the same token, you're using stuff that really goes into the layers of the skin that can actually create more wrinkles, right?
Yeah.
We're
And
going to take a,
hormonal imbalance because they
yeah,
affect your endocrine system. Those
yeah.
chemicals, as well as pesticides, affect your endocrine system, which is your thyroid and your pancreas and your hormone balance. It's so important.
So let's take a short commercial break, and we're going to come back and we're going to talk more about that, because I know a lot of people are really concerned about um, how can they help themselves first, to use natural remedies, because everyone is really going more on the holistic side,
Yeah.
right? So this is very interesting. So we're going to be right back.
Okay.
Now, the vast majority, approximately 95% of the people of all countries, go around and around without aim or purpose. They drift with the circumstances of life, good or bad.
A drifter is one who permits himself to be influenced and controlled by circumstances outside of his own mind.
Whereas the successful individuals create their own circumstances and ride them to victory.
When you're on purpose, you're living on purpose. You will never quit if you have a real purpose.
A burning desire to be and to do is the starting point from which the dreamer must take off. But what I have done has been recorded, it's been tested, it's being taken to a free world, and it's going to benefit millions of people who are not yet born.
And it's going to benefit millions of people who are not yet born. We're some of those people. That we're spreading this to the world. As your awareness grows, the doubt is gone, so that you can manifest whatever it is your heart desires. Isn't that beautiful?
Welcome back, everyone. So, that I love that commercial, and I play it all the time, because no matter what topic I'm talking about, it says, as your awareness grows, your doubt is gone. Right?
That is so true.
Because we're not aware of what is out there. We're not told everything. So we have to go out and seek. And if you are a seeker, you shall find.
Yeah, I become more optimistic the more that I learn.
Right.
And you have less and less fear.
Now, Julie, you are a board certified holistic coach.
Yes.
You have gone through the studies, the research, everything you needed to do in order to really help your clients. Share a story with us.
Okay. Well, first, okay, yeah, I would love to do that. And we kind of skipped over the beginning, which is like the symptoms of hypothyroidism and Hashimoto's, and how I shrunk my thyroid nodules, because I was my first patient as a trying to figure things out. And like I said, I went undiagnosed, and I went to many doctors, and I told them I had a thyroid problem. I even wrote a list, trying to help them, doing their homework for them, give them a piece of paper with all my symptoms. They still didn't run the antibody test. No one would run the thyroid antibody test until after over 10 years of me suffering with symptoms. And that's the first test, typically, not for everyone, but typically that's the first thing that gets elevated. My TSH, my T3 and T4, those are the basic panels that they usually run for people. I've never had abnormal numbers there. Some people, by the time they get the testing done, their TSH is very high. I discovered my mother's was over 6. It's supposed to be like 1.5. And she went undiagnosed pretty much her whole life. When I saw her TSH was that high, I asked her doctor to test her antibodies. Sure enough, she had Hashimoto's disease. Her antibodies were elevated. And I said, you know what? All he did was throw her on Synthroid, just add another medication on the stack. At one point, he was over-medicating her so much that she was dizzy and falling down. And I actually took it in my own hands. I wrote her doctor a 3-page letter, and I said, you have her on this, this, and this. These are her symptoms. He took her down from 18 medicines to 8 medicines, and her dizziness went away. So that goes to show you have to advocate for your elderly relatives, for your parents. You have to advocate, because they just do what the doctor tells them. And that's the way my mom was. She just was like, oh, he'll take care of me. I'm like, I think you need to fire him. I joke about firing doctors in my book. It's a joke. I have a sarcasm disclaimer in front of that chapter that says, I respect the medical profession. I think that there's a lot of great, amazing things that they, especially with emergency medicine and surgeries. But for chronic illness, naturopathic or alternative medicine seems to be safer and more effective. If they could both just integrate, that would be great.
That would be beautiful, right?
Yeah,
Absolutely. And I think that's coming.
it's
I think because
coming slowly.
it is entering, because I see more and more doctors who are, who are from the Western side, communicate and collaborate with the holistic side. It's
Yeah.
definitely on its way. So
Yeah, it's been a long time coming. I mean, I had an idea nearly 30 years ago to write a book called The Hospital of the Future. And in my vision, I visualize people going in the hospital when they're scared and they're sick or they're hurt, going into a salt lamp room and having lavender pumped in, and like just a place to calm down, first of all, when you get there. But I have like this, a lot of ideas for how to make a healthier hospital. And I wish I could go someplace like that, like, because I'm afraid to go in the hospital. I'm afraid of, because I do so many things naturally. I don't know how strong the medications would be and would affect me. And I don't want them cutting out my parts if I don't need to. So I try to prevent. I use preventative medicine. I try to keep myself in balance. So anyway, when I finally got diagnosed, I was told to go get a thyroid ultrasound. So I did, and I had 2 thyroid nodules. And the bigger one was 1.3 centimeters. Not the biggest. I've had clients with bigger ones, and I was able to help them to shrink them. Because what I did was I had put together a protocol, which is in my book, for what I took to shrink my thyroid nodules. When the doctor, I call him Dr. Cutthroat, when he said that my nodules were suspicious, and I said, well, what if they're cancer? And he just went, and I thought that was like pretty rude, right? So I nicknamed him Dr. Cutthroat. So what basically he sent me for a needle biopsy, and I said, can I take some time to try my natural medicine? He was like, oh, sure. How long do you want? And I said, 2 months. I had no idea what I was doing. I mean, I had done my research, but I had never done this before. Anyway, I put together this regimen of different binders and berries and mushrooms and smoothies and a whole bunch of medicinal mushrooms like reishi and chaga. And when I went back and got the needle in my neck 4 times, they were digging real deep in my neck because they couldn't get any cells out. I didn't know at the time why they were digging so hard and moving the needle around. I was sore afterwards. And most people were like, oh, that doesn't make you sore. That's nothing. And I'm like, well, maybe if you have a thyroid nodule that's like right there, it'd be easy to just take the cells out, right? They had shrunk to less than 1 millimeter. They were that small. So I was elated. I'm like, oh my God, it worked. And the doctor, he sounded so sad on the phone. He's like, I don't know if you want to repeat the test again. They couldn't get any cells out. I'm like, doctor, don't you realize what has happened here? Like, you should be happy for me that I was able to do this and want to share it with your patients. And I asked him if he wanted me to email him the protocol, which was very generous of me in retrospect. And he said, no, you can send it to me in the regular mail. Like I was going to print things out for him and mail it to him. He was fired that day. Fired. That was it. I never saw him again. And he never called me to check on me either. But yeah, they're still gone. Like 10 years later, I had another follow-up ultrasound, and they're still gone. They're small. They're very, very tiny. So it can be done. So that's like I was saying. Oh, you're on mute, hon.
Congratulations, because you took your own way of saying, let me try something before, right? And a lot of people are scared to do that. So what advice would you give them not to be scared, to trust?
To learn, because the more that you learn about it, the more you learn about alternatives, the more comfortable you become. Yeah. And to know that these the binders that I recommend in my book are completely harmless. Like modified citrus pectin is made from the pith of the citrus peels, but it's changed with this enzyme to make it so small, the molecular size is so small that it can not just go through your digestive system, but all through your bloodstream, and to attract and bind to toxins. Not only does it remove heavy metals, pesticides, ammonia, it prevents cancer cells from clumping together, and it prevents fibrosis. Fibrosis, this is a great word to learn. Fibrosis is like hardening in the arteries, kidney stones, gallstones. When things, as we get older, they harden, and and these like scar tissue can form in your body and can literally block your vessels or grow into a growth. So this modified citrus pectin, I have it right here. Let me show you. This is the best thing ever. This is the best nutraceutical ever. I take this every day. You can take it every day safely. There's nothing to be afraid of at all when it comes to this.
And what does that help you with?
It prevents fibrosis. It prevents cancer. It detoxifies the body of heavy metals, aluminum, and pesticides. It even helps with liver and kidney problems, and it's cardioprotective. It prevents heart disease. It's the best thing ever. I love it. That's one of my favorite things. Yeah. And I have a whole chapter, almost a whole chapter on that in my book, and cite some of the studies and all the benefits. So if you forget any of those today, you can check them out in my book.
Awesome. So share with us some stories, some really good stories.
Okay. Well, recently I had a client that since she had the COVID shots, she was just not the same, and she wasn't feeling very well at all. So I recommended to her, there's a product called a foreign protein cleanse, and that's from Global Healing. They have excellent products. So I recommended that, and I recommended some other things, and the zeolite powder, that's another binder. Zeolite powder, it also removes heavy metals, and she started taking that, and in the first week she felt better. Like her energy went way up, and that was what had happened to me too. I took zeolite powder every morning, just 1 tablespoon in a smoothie, and in 2 weeks my energy was just zooming, and I was in a happy mood. I think I was annoying people at work because I was really bubbly. They're like, well,
you just mentioned the company Global Healing?
Yeah, Global Healing is owned by Dr. Edward Group, and he's an amazing authority on all things health. He and David Wolf. In fact, David Wolf is the one that taught me about the zeolite powder and the modified citrus pectin, and about charcoal too. Activated charcoal is a very good also for removing toxins. It's used in hospitals when people get stung or bit by snakes or are exposed to any kind of poison. A lot of times they use charcoal to soak it up and absorb it and take it out of the body. It also helps for people if they have digestive problems, IBS, if they have excess gas, the charcoal can absorb it. So that's a great thing to take too.
Beautiful. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, in my acknowledgments, I thank David Wolf because I've been following him for so long, since he was my teacher at IIN, the Institute for Integrative Nutrition, where I got my health coaching certificate. And he was one of my favorites because he was very animated, and he always had a story for everything. And he would make smoothies on the stage, and he would put in all these different herbs and berries and mushrooms, and he just made it fun. And then he handed out samples to everyone. So yeah, I've been following him ever since.
I have to check him out. I have not heard of him. So yeah, I will definitely check him out. And then I remember you and I spoke about Dr. McCullough. He's another one who is very into the holistic healing, right?
I call him the OG because he was the first one, had the alternative medicine website when the internet first came, like on my, in my office at work. I was able to get on the internet before we had laptops at home. Getting old. Yeah. But I would scour his website. Anytime I had a health problem, I would look it up on Mercola.com because he has an article for everything. It was him that I had Hashimoto's for a couple of years when I finally said, why don't I look it up on Mercola.com? So I look it up and I find LDN is actually a medication called low-dose naltrexone, which is on label for Crohn's disease, which is autoimmune, but it's not on label for Hashimoto's or MS, but it is prescribed. It can be prescribed off label. And this medicine has virtually no side effects. What it does is you take it before bed and it slows down your opiate production so that when you wake up in the morning, it rebounds. And I'm like, this is a very simplified explanation. There's more details in my book. But basically, after the first day, I woke up more perky, with more energy. I felt my brain, I could feel the difference in my brain, my clarity. So I really I tell all my friends with autoimmune disease, try LDN. How many of them have done it? None of them. They still haven't done it. One of them asked her doctor, and they were like, "Oh, no, no, no. You have to advocate for yourself. If you want to try, if you have autoimmune disease, it's also helpful for a lot of cancers. Go to ldnresearchtrust.org. That is one of the main websites. You can look up all the conditions that are listed. It's pages long of all the conditions that it helps. And they have doctors that will prescribe listed on the website. So if your doctor won't prescribe it for you, you can find a prescriber. But I have a doctor now that's integrative, and he prescribes it to me.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah.
Is there another story you'd like to share?
Oh my gosh. I had one client that had a terrible case of psoriatic arthritis, or no, pustular psoriasis on the bottom of her feet. And she could barely walk, and they were scraping the bottom of her feet. The poor thing, like every week she was going to the podiatrist, and they would cut its pustules open, and it was just awful for her. I recommended her a couple of things, vitamin D mainly, and chaga mushroom. Chaga's been known to help with psoriasis for over 100 years in Russia. They've been using chaga mushroom for psoriasis. Anyway, she had a little bit of chaga, but basically she just started taking the vitamin D, and her feet completely cleared up. It was like a miracle. And she was one of those people that was like, don't tell me too many things to do at once. So I was taking it slow with her, and then that happened. Like it was a beautiful thing. She was able to walk again. It's beautiful.
Yes.
Yeah.
Isn't it wonderful when you see like just a happy ending to something? So people have been in pain for so long, never finding an answer, and then finally it just,
It's
to see their
wonderful. It's a wonderful feeling for me. I mean, that's being high on life. If I can help someone to feel better, I'm high on life. I'm so happy.
Right, because it's what when we give is when we receive it back, and it's internal happiness.
Yes. Yeah.
Right, like no money can replace true happiness that comes from like people suffering from a long time.
This is true.
And when we talk about autoimmune, diseases, there's absolutely, people have been suffering for a while. It just doesn't happen overnight.
Exactly.
And finding a solution to really help them, like yourself. I mean, you said like 10 years you're living with this and you don't have any answers. So I believe your story is one to where, you give hope. You give hope because people don't have to wait 10 years now.
That's right.
You did your homework.
I don't want the people to go through this. And I also have a call to action in my book to call for earlier screening and diagnosis. Just run the test. If you don't know what to do with the patient, refer them out to a functional medicine doctor or an integrative doctor or an herbalist or anyone that they want to see if you're not willing to treat them. But their model right now is to wait. There's 5 stages of Hashimoto's disease, okay? And the TSH doesn't get elevated until stage 3 or 4. So that's when they finally catch it. And by then, the patient has been further progressed into the disease. Now they're at higher risk of other autoimmune diseases. Their thyroid is starting to fail in stage 4. So let's catch it earlier. That's my point. And, 2 of my doctors right here in New Jersey said to me, they don't know what to do. Because I'm like, why don't they test for this earlier? They said they don't know what to do. And the other doctor was like, what am I going to do? It's literally what he said. I'm quoting. So I'm like, well, ask me. I'll tell you what to do. I'll tell you what to do. I would do a better job. And I'm not a doctor.
You took responsibility, and you advocated for yourself. You didn't just accept the answer. Sometimes it's easy to just say, okay, whatever the doctor says, I'm going to do. It's just
Yeah.
an easier,
I,
action, but at the same token, it doesn't create wellness, right? It doesn't give you what you're looking for, and you're just settling. So this is one thing that I want to stress is don't settle. If you're not happy with an answer,
mm-hmm.
right? I have a landlord here, and he's in his 80s. He's having health issues, but he said he's going to keep trying to find the answer. He's
Good.
not settling. And you know how happy I
Great.
am? And the man is here every day working and doing his paperwork,
Nice.
religiously. Like he won't let anything stop him. He goes to the doctors during the day to get
Mm-hmm.
his answers that he's looking for his health. But,
Mm-hmm.
he's determined to find a resolution or something that can help him, right? He's not just sitting back and saying, okay, I'll wait for the doctor to call me.
Yeah, I think that we're all a product of our experiences. And some people have a good
Mm,
life where they had good experiences with their doctors and they trust them. And I get that. For me personally, because of my childhood, I became very rebellious. I was bullied really, really terribly. I was judged for my religion when I was a young girl, very young girl. And I became very angry and rebellious. So I've been a fighter ever since. And I feel
mm,
like I'm like an indigo child. I read about the indigo children. I'm like, oh, that's me. I want to change the world. I want to make the world a better place. And I want to speak up when something is wrong. I want to help the underdog. That's just in me. And I thought, a lot of people are like that. I'm not the only one, but some people, I have a cousin. She trusts her doctor, whatever they say to do, and I'm like, ugh. Like it's just like it bothers me because their whole family went and got all the treatment after the pandemic, and some of them having problems now, and it just kills me because I try to warn people, and there's things that you can do if you have had that, the injections. There's things that you can do to help your immune system to recover. So that's something that was kind of taboo to talk about. I don't know if now it's safe to talk about it, but I just want to put it out there that I would be willing to help people that are having problems with that.
right.
Because
I mean, again, it's everyone has to take ownership, right? And take the first step. I mean, with anything that we want change in our lives. We cannot expect the change to come to us. We have to go out and do the work. And, again, if someone needs your help or is looking to get some answers, they can reach you at on your website.
Yeah, on yourwellnesschampion.com, and
I
also
love
on
that.
Facebook, it's called Your Wellness Champion because I want to champion your health. Like I want to help people and be their champion, like, rooting for them and helping them through. And like, you don't have to do it all yourself. If your doctors, they might be great, but you could use a health coach just to kind of guide you to work with your doctor, to ask for certain tests, to ask for a certain medicine, or get nutrient deficiency testing. A lot of us are deficient in nutrients, especially when our thyroid is not working optimally. There's 7 main nutrient deficiencies that's in my book. A lot of people are low in things like selenium and magnesium, vitamin D. Vitamin D is just so important, and a lot of us don't absorb it optimally. So even if you think you're in the sun, like say you live in Arizona, a lot of people that live in Arizona or Florida, they're like, oh, I don't need to take vitamin D. It's sunny here all the time. But according to Dr. Mercola, you have to have like 70% of your skin exposed to the sun. It's not going to absorb through your skin and create vitamin D if you're like behind glass, or if you
Right,
have
of course.
um, if you're overweight or you have diabetes. So there's a couple of other factors that also impact your ability to absorb it. So that's one supplement that's easy to take. They're little tiny caplets, or you can even take liquid. And it's hard to get in your diet. So I always recommend people, if they're not going to take anything, at least take vitamin D with
Mm.
K2.
So, and I have that, believe it or not, in my
Good.
refrigerator. Julie, tell us what your regimen is in the morning. What do you take on a daily
In,
basis?
in the morning, I take reishi and vitamin C every morning. And I take my propolis, that's right here. I have a whole bunch of stuff in front of me. I am always taking vitamins. When I eat, I take a vitamin E capsule and a B complex, and I take B12. The methyl Bs are very important for those genetic weaknesses. That's another point from my book. I love to teach people that you are not destined to get all the diseases of your family. Genetic inheritance of disease, if you've heard of epigenetics, it's
Yeah.
really only 15% of diseases actually inherited. So you might have the same weakness, like a weak link in a chain. That's how Dr. Tom O'Brien describes it. I love him. He loves to talk about gluten, and that's another whole subject. But anyway, if you have a weakness and to a certain disease, it doesn't mean you're going to get it. But if you go through a horrible, stressful experience like a death or divorce, you get in a weakened state, or if your body is toxic, then you have intestinal permeability, because it could just be from eating foods that have pesticides can tear the lining of your stomach, and so can gluten. So when those things all come together, it could be like the perfect storm, and then your body goes autoimmune, and it doesn't go back. I mean, they're like, there's no cure for it, but you can go in remission. So that's one of the messages in my book too, like never give up, because you can go in remission and you might go into relapse, but then you can go in remission again. So you just have to keep yourself balanced and keep making sure you're getting the proper nutrients. I take magnesium, selenium. Sometimes I take zinc. I can't take everything every day because it's a lot. But even if you don't take everything every day, at least you're taking it. Sometimes you're giving your body the nutrients, the tools that it needs to be well. I'm trying to
Your
think.
skin is beautiful. Your hair is beautiful. So we needed to know what you take.
Oh, yeah. I've been trying to take that, not the colostrum, but the collagen powder. I don't really like the taste of it, but my fingernails are very weak. My hair is doing pretty good, but my fingernails get weak. So I said, maybe I should take a lot of people are taking that, what do you call it? The collagen powder in their coffee. But for me,
Really? Is that for the skin?
yeah, skin, hair, nails, and the bones. And, it's like amino acids. It's a protein source. So it's a good way to start the day. It just ruins the taste of my coffee. I'm very picky about the flavor of my coffee, and I love my Peruvian organic coffee beans. I grind them fresh every morning. And when I have coffee, sometimes I have tea. I love tea as well.
Any final thoughts?
Oh my goodness. I feel like I'm forgetting something big. But there is just, there's so much information in my book that I wish that I had known before. And I really want to share with people everything from, red light therapy, which actually lowers thyroid antibodies. Believe it or not, there's a study that shows that. So there's all kinds of tidbits in there that you'll find. Even, in resolving chronic fatigue, some people can resolve it in just days with vitamin B1 if they're deficient in B1, which never shows on a test. So you'll never know if you have a deficiency in B1 unless you take some and see how you feel. So it's just a mystery. And I like to solve mysteries and, really deeply investigate things. I have 250 references in the back of my book. It is science-based, as well as telling my journey and my story is kind of interwoven through. But most of the second half of the book is deeply like scientific and teaching people
Beautiful.
the tools they can use to feel great, feel better, feel more energy.
And just take control, right? I mean, this is
Yeah,
all about
exactly.
being in control of your health first. I mean, I am very grateful for the doctors as well, but I do know that,
Yeah.
the maintenance part is up to us, right? We
Yes.
have to maintain our health through good habits, eating well, and just really being in charge first. I mean, the doctors come in to help you when the symptoms are showing up. So
Yes.
the whole point is, avoiding the symptoms, avoiding having be proactive, basically, and taking care of our health is Making ourselves priority. You know, we don't do that. We weren't taught to do that. We're not conditioned to say, oh, hey, let me take my vitamins first before I go to work. It's like, no, I'm late for work. Let me go to work. You know,
Yeah.
and
I
that mindset has to change.
And definitely you need continuing inspiration. So when you either from reading a book or a website or listening to a show on the way to work, there are reminders. Like even when I go back and I'm working on my book and I read a certain section, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so good. I got to take that. And then I start taking it at that very moment,
That's
reminding
beautiful.
myself.
Beautiful. Well, we're going to take it to a landing, Julie. Thank you so
Okay.
much for coming on and
Thank
really
you.
sharing, like I said, your wisdom. I hope people do connect with you. And again, they can go to your website and connect
Yes.
there, or Facebook. You're also on Facebook. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. And until next time, I'm your host, Giovanna Tardivan. Thank you
Thank you,
again,
Giovanna.
Julie.
Thank you for having me.
Bye-bye,
Take
everyone.
care.
Thank you for joining me on Sparking Change with Gigi. I hope that our episode today has ignited a spark within you to create positive change in your own life and in the world around you. To learn more about how you can become a guest or supporter, head over to sparkingchangenow.com. If you enjoyed today's episode, please consider subscribing, sharing, and leaving a review. Your feedback is incredibly valuable to me, and it helps me to continue producing content that sparks change in each of us and the world. You can find us on various platforms, including Google Play Store, Apple App Store, YouTube, Facebook, Roku, Android TV, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire. Thank you again for watching, and I look forward to having you join me again next week on Sparking Change with Gigi.